See, you see, my brain doesn't work very well. I'm so besotted with leopards that I didn't even think of lion at all whatsoever. It's also probably because I know that there's no lions around that, or even tracks, and generally it's very seldom that you're going to find a lion in late afternoon like this. They're animals that are move generally in the sort of cooler parts of the day, so that's normally around sunset and through the night, and then sunrise they tend to settle, particularly on warm days like we've had today. Could use L for a log. That's pushing it, I think, as well. Lark, Roshni, that's a nice one. I like that one, actually. Wouldn't mind seeing a couple of larks. Best place for that would probably be Impala Plains. That wouldn't be a bad place to check for them. We can find the various species of larks and pipits there. I wonder when the monotonous larks are going to arrive this year. Talking about migratory birds and L for lark. The monotonous larks were such a big part of our late summer this year. We had just an influx of them, and I remember it all started with James. He was in this magic cheetah sighting on Cheetah Plains where they had the rainbow. Remember when the two cheetah brothers were split and there was this rainbow, and James was sitting there and he was just marveling at this beautiful sighting, and he heard the sound that he recognized and couldn't put his finger on it, and he kind of went through all of his books and eventually he got to monotonous lark, and then from there they just overran the whole of Cheetah Plains, Djuma. It was just non-stop. You'd hear them all the way through the night, in the mornings, afternoons, heat of the day, it didn't matter. The monotonous lark was going. L. What else can I do for L? I'm just trying to look around me what there is that could be an L while I'm busy moving along, because I want to try to keep the alphabet game ticking as we go, and leadwoods generally won't be too many of them up this side, given that we are up on a crest, so leadwoods don't do that well here. They need quite a bit of water. Most of your hard wooded trees are generally close-ish to water. They like water, a lot of them, although there should be one or two leadwoods up this side. I think I've seen some. Mostly marulas though. Marulas love this section. I was reading an article the other day. There's a guy that's busy doing a study, funny enough, talking about marulas, and he's studying the area that we're in. So basically from here to this through Skakuza region down to the southeast of the Kruger Park, there's a belt of marulas. I see there's a Bateleur eagle. I'm just wondering if the road goes a bit closer, Sev. Maybe not, it won't actually. Let's try to do it from here. So there's a beautiful Bateleur eagle in the tree, and while we are looking for L's, we might as well just take the moment to appreciate its beauty, because it is a wonderful bird. Is it a Bateleur? Yes, it is. It's a young Bateleur. I wonder if it's the same one that flew away from us earlier. It's a very similar coloration, still that caramel brown around the throat and in the darker back, and you can see Bateleur, even if you couldn't see its head, just those wings, the way they end and almost crisscross at the base there, is a perfect indication of Bateleur, and very round, robust head. And obviously then the coloration and even just the shape of it is very little else that it could be. There's a telltale beak, quite slender comparative to other birds of prey we get out here. Very easy to tell. Now this one I'm sure is from the nest that we have between Bateleur and Leadwood Road. There's a nest that we get here. I'm sure that's where that particular bird comes from. Beautiful though. Enjoying some afternoon light. So they will mostly feed off carrion. You'll find that they're not birds that use the thermals to soar heavily, even though they will a little bit. Most of their flying is done quite low to the ground, where they can spot various fresh carcasses and then come down and feed off it. So they're a carrion feeder more than anything else. Lorena, you say they are such cool birds. They are beautiful, aren't they? I like the adults a lot. Those colors are just amazing. It's probably got to be one of the most colorful birds of prey anywhere in the world, and with those reds and yellows and bright red legs and that big puffy head, and it's like jet black that just glares slightly when you kind of get close to them, there's a little bit of that reflection of light. It is very pretty. We're actually going to get quite close to him, so I thought he might fly away, or she. It's difficult to say if it's a male or female yet. I thought it might fly away, but now that we're here, it's actually staying still, and we are very close to it, which is beautiful. So we should get a nice full glimpse of it. There we go. Now what is amazing with this bird is that even though it's still brown like this, it's going to take it 7 years to go from brown to those beautiful rich colors I was talking about just now. Now 7 years is a long time, given that this bird only probably lives to about 20 years in captivity, so it's almost a third of its life is spent in a juvenile or immature phase. Now imagine if that was humans. It would mean that the first sort of 30 years of your life you would still be considered a teenager, which is quite crazy to think. So they have a long period of waiting to grow up, and it's part of the reason why their numbers have declined a little bit in South Africa, because of, again, what we were talking about with vultures and these guys being carrion feeders. They often are poisoned, and so because there's a huge poisoning of adults, the juveniles take so long until they can breed that once you get rid of too many of the adults, the breeding population is then destroyed, and so things get, well, decline very, very quickly. So it's an amazing kind of thing, and a bad thing in a way, because it leads to the sort of numbers declining outside of protected areas like this. As you travel northwards in Africa, there's still lots of them, but here in South Africa, really only the Kruger Park houses a massive population. Outside of that, there's the odd birds here and there, and then again in the Kalahari there's a couple that side as well. I suppose quite a lot actually in the Kalahari, but those two game reserves really form the bulk of the population within South Africa. Although I saw one was seen in Cape Town fairly recently, which is fairly crazy. Don't know what it was doing all the way down there. Must have got blown that way by some of the winds. Well, Batalia, have a nice afternoon. You look like you're in a superb spot for the afternoon, watching the sunrise. You're going to have a most epic sunrise from here. You can see that's where the western horizon is, and the Drakensberg Mountains are. I didn't think of that for D. The Drakensberg Mountains would have been a nice one. And so it's going to have the most spectacular view of the sunset. This is actually one of, I remember Brent, the first time I ever came onto Djuma and did a drive with Brent, he was telling me this is his favorite section. He used to love driving along here and watching the sun set. So I hope Brent is well and enjoying the last few days of his holiday, because he seems to have had an absolute blast. Him and Jamie have been all over the place. They were in Nairobi for a while, then they went to one of the most beautiful parts of the world called Lake Naivasha, and that is really a very special place. And he's doing a little bit of fishing, which will make Brent very happy. I'm sure Jamie's been relaxing, and I know Jamie's also been trying to get into fishing with Brent, so maybe she's done a bit with him, and I hope they've had some success and caught some nice things and seen some amazing stuff at Naivasha. It's a beautiful part of the world, and sure, he will be re-energized, both of them, when they come back to work. I'm looking forward to it, I would imagine. I know Brent gets quite excited when he gets back to work. He's all over the show, likes to bounce around. It was nice the other day. I got to have a long chat to him, because I haven't had too much chance to speak to him. We kind of keep missing each other, and the other day I think we spoke for over an hour, and we were just catching up on everything, and it was really good to hear all his stories and hear all the adventures they've gotten up to, and it's just really good to catch up. It's amazing how you miss friends when you haven't seen them for quite some time. Hyena tracks, not what I was hoping for. Hold on, Rusty, stop squeaking. I was just looking down the road. I thought I saw something walking in the road, but alas, I was being ever hopeful. It's all hyena tracks. Debbie, you say L for leaf. I suppose I could do that, but I feel like maybe that's just cheating a little bit. Let's try and get a leadwood tree. I mean, that's going to be the easiest one for sure. They're not too far apart. There will be some down closer towards the Mulawati that we can get fairly quickly. So we will use L for leadwood. In fact, it's going to be probably the easiest one. I'm just delaying it because I really want a leopard. That's really the truth. It's being a bit selfish. Sorry, guys. What else could we use for L? I'm just trying to think of other L's. Right, I'm going to try and check around a little bit more, but while I catch my breath quickly and take a sip of water, let's go and have a look at the beautiful little Princess Shongile and just how proficient a hunter she's starting to become.
What you see? I see what she's seen. I think that's a bit too deep for you, Shongile. I saw what you saw. I hope you catch it. Come on, girlie. Come on, come on, come on. Here comes the jump. Oh, did she get it? She got it! Well done! Good girl. Oh, it's a baby monitor lizard. So that's a better meal than a terrapin. I just saw a long tail flapping around. So it looks like it could be a baby monitor lizard. So I'll have a look there. You can see the tail hanging down from her mouth a little bit. Let's turn your head for us. Shongile, my darling, turn your head. Oh, not yet. There we go. And you can hear the impala going even. Oh, there we go. Look at that tail whipping around. Yes, it's a monitor. It's a baby monitor. Well, if you want to find out what's happening in the middle of the African...
Well, isn't that amazing how she started out with such little prey items? So we started seeing her doing terrapins, and then she graduated to a monitor lizard, and it was really quite a profound moment. That I remember Brent being so happy about it, because obviously Shongile, he won't admit it, but it's his little favorite princess, and a leopard he spent a lot of time around, and he absolutely loved that sighting. Seeing her catching that monitor lizard was just after Karula had disappeared, and you know, we were all a bit worried about her because she was much smaller than Hosana. Hosana seemed to have taken to that sort of solitary life like a duck to a pond, and was very happy with doing his thing and finding food. But it seemed as though Shongile, you know, she looked as though she was struggling a little bit more, and she was kind of terrapins, and that was the first kind of active kill that she got, and it was really a big moment. I was super happy when she caught that. I remember actually being here during that. Well, I was on leave, I think, at that time. And now she's progressed. Now we've seen her with duiker kills, we've seen her with, or heard of her with impala kills, so she really has done quite well. But I'm not sure there's a leopard around here. There's so many impalas and so many different species of antelope here that if Tumba is here, he's definitely keeping a very, very, very low profile. So I'm going to go north in the Mulawati just to check. But here his tracks are here, I think. Going southwards. Are these them? Yes, here they are. See, they're going southwards. So these are the tracks that they had. So he must be here, and these are on top of all the vehicle tracks. So I would imagine he's somewhere close by. We just got to find him. But while we're getting our alphabet game going, and I said I'll try and find a leadwood, there's about 100 of them where I am now. There's one big one just here on my left hand side, which is a beautiful example of a leadwood. And this is an area that Tandi and Tumba both spend a lot of time. I've tracked them both here 3-4 times in this general vicinity, and under these big shady leadwoods is the perfect place for a leopard to sit and relax and spend the afternoon, especially a hot afternoon like today. The Mulawati is perfect. We will find this leopard. He is here somewhere. These tracks are from during the day today, so he is around. Just a matter of seeking him out. So as I was saying earlier, that's one of our it's our third densest tree that we have out here. So it will not float in wood, not a wood you would want to build a boat out of. Also, if you did try to build a boat out of it, especially by hand, you would probably take all your life to chop that up. That wood is ridiculously hard. It's amazing actually how hard it is. So not a good idea at all. One, because you'll sink, and two, because it will take you all your life just to sink, which seems a bit pointless, doesn't it? Okay, what's after L? M. M is also easy. That we can do a marula for M. Where's a marula? There must be a marula close by. Marianne, you suggest mongoose? Well, before we do M, let's just do N, because N is staring at us right in the face. There's a nyala right in front of us, so we might as well just do that quickly while it's here. I can also see marula's way in the distance, so we could potentially show an M, but let's do N before it runs away. Isn't that a magical scene though? This is why Scott, Brent, James, myself, Jamie, pretty much all of us, this is one of our favorite places to be, because look at that. Big bull nyala in the Mulawati riverbed, big tall old trees that have been here for years, and the banks of the river that are lush and green in this dryness. It is very pretty to be in here, and it's just something about it, especially when the sun's starting to go down. You get this dappled light that comes through the trees and these sort of rays and fingers, and it's just very pleasant. The only problem is it tends to be quite warm because you don't get much of a breeze. Isn't that the most stately looking nyala? He's definitely posing as best he can. He's got his beard all combed nicely, he's got his back fur is down so he's not all puffy, and he's just standing there and giving you his best angle, really. Something's catching his attention though. They generally are a little bit more nervous. But this is a prime example of why their camouflage works so well. Remember that male nyalas spend a lot of time on their own. They don't spend much time in groupings together. And if you look at his camouflage, look at the darkness. If we come back a bit, just so I can show you. So if we come back, look at how the dark matches the darkness of those tree trunks. And then those light legs perfectly fit into the grass. So the white gives it away a little bit for us. But if you can imagine dappled light, and then see how well that animal actually blends in. So those legs are perfectly designed. They are in a way that there's not dark brown because they would stand out in that light colored grass, and then the dark brown body is perfect for these thicker, denser areas, so they do blend in incredibly well. I mean, he's right out in the open and he still blends in from here. But something's caught his attention. He's a bit twitchy, isn't he? He's kind of looking, and there's a little bit of a twitch in those shoulders. And maybe some of the flies that were bugging the giraffe are also bugging him. But the ears are focused. He's not in any way looking at us, which is quite strange. Nyala tend to be quite aware of their surroundings, and when they see us, they tend to move away and try and slink off into some sort of a thicket. But this guy is really focused, and he's sniffing and smelling. If, of course, he saw a leopard and he could blatantly see it, he would alarm call, which would sound like a dog barking. And he's not doing that, so it might just be something that he's not sure about. Ooh, what's that flying over there? You can hear the birds are alarm calling. There's a accipiter that's just flown away from us, which we won't be able to get on camera, but for those of you that are not sure what an accipiter is a small predatory bird, like goshawks, sparrowhawks, those kind of birds. Let's try and get a little bit closer and just see what he's staring at. Maybe he'll allow us to get even closer and we can get some beautiful visuals of his face, because they have great markings on their face. No, there he goes. I didn't do it. You're wondering if their stripes fade as they get older? Well, in the males, yes. In the females, not so much. The females tend to have still quite big, bright white stripes as they get older. Males, not so much. Theirs definitely get less. But look how he's sniffing. I wonder if he didn't see that leopard at some stage during the day today and is still a little bit wary. Nose is going. He's ambling off away from us. But they are the most exotic looking, I think, of our animals. It's definitely our antelope out here, with those browns and whites. It's absolutely beautiful. And there we go, into the thicket, and will just disappear like a ghost. Amazing, isn't it? Imagine trying to spot that now if he stood still. It would be really difficult. Well done, Seb. But let's go slowly up here anyway and check. Mr. P, you're wondering if Nyala can run fast because they look quite heavy. Well, Mr. P, they're not the most athletic of antelope species out here, so we definitely have more athletic antelopes in the form of impalas and duiker and steenbok and the likes. So they're not nearly as fast. They probably run at about top speed, about 60 kilometers an hour. So I'm not sure what that is in miles. It would be... This is where our leopard came from, though. He walked down like this. That would be, what, 60 kilometers, about 25, 20, no, more, sorry, I lie, it's more than that. It's close to 40 miles an hour, if I'm correct, somewhere around there. I don't know. Like I say, maths is not my strong point, but it's somewhere in that general vicinity. And so they're not the most agile in terms of speed, but they can turn and twist and negotiate these thickets very well, and they can use that to their advantage. And then obviously their camouflage is a huge defensive mechanism for them. So I'm going to go back down towards Twin Dams to see if maybe Tamba has arrived there now. If he's not there, then I'm going to go to Chitwa Dam just to enjoy the last little bit of light that will be on Chitwa Dam and see if there's anything lurking in that area, and then we'll come back via Twin Dams and see if this leopard is out and about, because he must be here somewhere. Okay, now what are we on? O now. O? No? We've done, no, M is marulas, but there's marulas spread all the way around here, so M is not too bad. We can pretty much count them. All those big trees in the distance are marula trees. N is, yeah, O is next. Where's our giraffe where we need it? Because we need oxpeckers. We've seen lots of oxpeckers. Apparently there was a giraffe on the down camp 20 minutes ago. I wonder if it was our friend. He must have walked quite briskly to get there 20 minutes ago. I'm sure Tamba's here. I've got this feeling that he's here. I've just got to find him. I know he likes to spend time all along this area, right up against the thickets, and because he's a young individual, he likes to hide away a little bit, so I'm sure he's here. If he's not here now, with the spotlight we will find him. He's going to go to water at some point. Oriole, I like that, Kimmy. That's actually probably a very nice one, and where we are is a good place for them. They like this section, they like the thickets of the Mulawati, and you get that gold flash as they fly past you, so this is a really good place for orioles. So apparently his tracks crossed over some, well, not crossed over, but we're coming in this direction. I wonder if he didn't go down off Elephant Carcass into this thicket. Because it would be easy to see him on this bank. Don't see any tracks though. Problem is that if he's gone off Elephant Carcass, it's so open and, I mean, so thick and dense in there, it's very difficult to see a leopard. You're gonna have to just rely on alarm calls or him walking and then spotting him as he walks. I'm just relying on the fact that it's been hot, and hopefully he's going to go for water, because that's how we would, without being able to track him, find him. Ooh, for a second there I thought it was a leopard, but it's just a tree. You see it's at the base there on that muddy section.
Oh yeah.
So it looks, is there, if you look where Seb is going to zoom in now, right there, that little clump at the bottom, I thought for a second that right there, I thought for a second it might be, because you often see little sort of signs of them like that. Let's say you say I must channel my inner leopards. Well, it's being channeled. I'm channeling it as best I can, and hopefully it's going to work out for us. I'm hoping there's going to be a leopard here somewhere. Just trying to listen. Something's been found on the radio, but I don't know. I think it's in Buffelshoek. Can't hear anything outside. There's some Franklin's alarm calling down in the Mulawati though. Or here at the dam. Maybe they're just calling because it's sunset time. What are you complaining about? It's a Natal Franklin that's busy moaning. There it is. So sometimes they'll make this noise when they see a predator. But I don't see any sign of anything. There's also one behind me that's also alarm calling. Tambo, are you drinking at Twin Dams and I just can't see you? I wonder if he hasn't come past here and caused a little ruckus. I Don't see any sign. There's also no sign of any of the antelopes that were here earlier. Let's just look carefully, Seb. Maybe we get lucky here. I know he likes, there's a termite mound on the other side that he's been seen a few times on. He's not there today though. Not in the Mulawati by the looks of it. Seems as though those Franklins are just doing their territorial call, their last call for the day before they bed down for the night. They're not alarm calling at anything that I can see, unless maybe a bird of prey flew over. Now, I was talking about Tumba and we've been looking for him, but let's quickly have a little look at how inquisitive he can be when there are the big grey pachyderms around.
Look at this. This is so cool. We can have elephants and leopard in the same sighting. Wow. You can't stalk an elephant, you silly cat. Wow. How cool is that? That's epic. Epic, epic, epic. Our little boy is watching the ellies. So he's not far, but I think he would prefer to be in a little bit of cover when he watches, and he's seeing the ellies. The ellies are having a little suckling session in the background there. So everybody's really quite chilled. Now, this elephant is going to get closer for sure. It's walking right on the edge, and little Tumba, you're going to have to move. Now the elephant's just seen him. But you can see the elephant's reaction to a leopard. It's going to come closer, but it's not really going to worry too much about Tumba.
Well, wasn't that an amazing sighting? I remember that very clearly. It was last cycle, and it was the most epic few days with that little leopard. We had such a good time, and watching him with those elephants was quite interesting. He was very curious and very naughty. He kind of went close to them, and then he would sort of lose his nerve and run off, and then he was interested again, and he ended up being stuck right in the middle of that whole big grouping. It can't have been very comfortable for him, and he got pushed around from pillar to post a little bit, but it was really cool to watch. And then that afternoon his rest didn't kind of come to him, because that was when Tingana chased him that afternoon as well. So he had a rough day that day, but he's alright. He seems to be doing just fine, although I haven't seen him for quite some time. Apparently he was seen quite a bit when I went on leave last. I think you and Byron saw him, didn't you, Seb? Yeah. You did, eh? So he was around apparently somewhere on Gari Main, and then since then I haven't seen him. But what I do know about Tumba is generally when he is in an area, he tends to spend quite a few days around there, and you tend to get quite a few sightings of him. And so maybe we'll get lucky and he will come out at Twin Dams, and then, you know, hopefully he sticks around for a couple of days and we can get some really nice time spent with him, because he is a beautiful, beautiful animal. But we're heading to Chitwa quickly while the sun's still up to see what's happening at the dam. Kristen, you're wondering if Tumba has had any successful kills that I know of. No, I haven't heard of him having any of his own kills, or in fact killing anything by himself. It's not to say that he hasn't. Remember that he hasn't spent as much time on Djuma as he has anywhere else. So now that he's starting to spend more time, I would imagine we will see him with a kill from time to time. The thing is also, is Tundi is an incredibly efficient hunter, and she tends to come up with the goods more often than not, and so I think he relies quite heavily on her. But now that she's spending long periods away from him, I would imagine that he does find what he needs on his own, and you probably find he's going after small things like francolins and birds and small rodents. He might even go after things like cane rats, which is a fairly good meal for a leopard. A cane rat is much bigger than you would think. They're about that large, so they really are big rats and quite rounded. What is that walking over there? Oh, waterbuck. So there's some waterbuck. There's a crowned lapwings in front of me. Yes. I'm sorry. But let's see. Our waterbuck are always so beautiful. I wonder if we can get this guy. Oh no. Seb, I don't know if you can maybe try. It's going to be tough. There's a spider hunting wasp that is just coming past me now. There it goes again. So it's just buzzing around my head. There's a massive spider hunting wasp that is now drifted off. It was flying around the termite mound, so I was wondering if it was maybe going to try go in and look for some spiders inside there. You can see every now and then it just buzzes through the frame. Big blue wasp. We need that for W. Still on O, so we need oxpeckers, but it's getting late for oxpeckers. It's going to be quite tough. There's lots of waterbuck. Let me go forward though for you. And I've got to say, young waterbuck are some of my favorite. They're the most fluffy things out here. You say ocelot? Well, unfortunately, no ocelots here in South Africa, or in the Sabi sands at least. There is none that are occurring naturally, so we won't be able to do ocelot. Otter would be quite a cool one. Not that there are many otters in this particular section. Down in the Sabi River we might find them, or the Sand River, but not up here unfortunately. But otter would be a very cool one. Ostrich would be another cool one to have, which has been seen at Chitwa Open. Maybe we get lucky at Chitwa Dam with an ostrich. But these guys are so beautiful and fluffy. You can see little male there with his horns just starting to come out of his head. So he's going to get big one day and have massive sets of horns and going to try and dominate. And this is the size that Tingana likes to go after. I've seen him with countless waterbuck of that size, which is pretty incredible. I mean, it's not a small antelope, but he goes after them fairly regularly. I've seen Tundi go after them quite often, so even when they get that size and are sort of 7-8 months old, that's still fair game to a lot of our leopards out here. But they are beautiful, and as the name suggests, close to water. Water is not far away. Chitwa Dam is just down the hill, so they're very close to where water would be used to evade predators, although going into that water would be a massive mistake, because that water is full of things you do not want to go into. There is crocodiles that are going to get you if you go in there, and so for a waterbuck, not the best water hole to try and cross should you be being chased by leopard or lions or wild dogs or any other predator really. But let's quickly go down to Chitwa Dam while there's just a little bit of light, because that light is starting to disappear quite quickly, so I want to try and get down there as fast as possible. Paula, the waterbuck young ones do smell the same as the older ones do. Not as pungent, but they do have a smell to them. And that's because it's that oil that is secreted to help with the waterproofing of the coat. So even though it is stinky, but they both need it. Even when they're young, they're still going to use water to escape predation. Sure, Chitwa Dam has dried quite a bit since I last saw it. There's our little dwarf mongoose. Are you guys going to stay for us? Please stay. I know you're not O, but we can use you for something else if we want to. M. You can see a couple of them just between the root system. I really like these dwarf mongoose. They're super cute, and look how curious they are. See, it's coming closer to come say hello, and that looks like a fairly young one. Just a little sniff of the branch. Now half of them are on my right hand side and the other half on the left, so everybody's kind of just checking out which way is the safest way to go and sizing us up and making sure we're not something to worry about. But that is a young, oh, little itch as well. You can actually hear them all around us making little contact calls. It's really cool to hear them just calling and talking to each other. That is as good as it gets when it comes to seeing a dwarf mongoose. It's about as close. Are you going to climb a tree for us? No, you're smelling what's there. Something's caught a scent, but look at the little claws that they use to dig. Now, it's not every day we get to see those claws. How cool is that? And this little one is really coming right out into the open. You can see they're sniffing around. There's a scent of something that's... What have you got there? Wow, that is so cool. It's not every day we're going to get to see dwarf mongoose this close and this relaxed. Oh, and off we go. No, decided I'm done with my stick. Down into the ground I go, and you can see them all bounding along and running along in the grass. So much attitude and so much fun amongst this grouping. Dapper mongoose, they're not really aggressive, especially not these dwarf mongoose. They're so little, they're super scared of us. So if we come close, they're just going to run away. They're not wanting to have anything to do with us. We're very nervous. But if they get rabid mongoose, so white-tailed mongoose are quite big, and if they go rabid, they can be a little bit of a handful. But generally, no. Most of the mongoose are fairly sort of relaxed and fairly wary of people. They see people coming and they try and move off. Now, I said before the sun sets, maybe if we can just get the sunset, because it is absolutely beautiful. Look at the cloud layer that we've got. So we've got these streaky clouds. There's blues, there's oranges, marula trees. That is quintessential Sabi Sands sunset. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? Now, we might have had a quiet afternoon with not too many animals, but that is an exquisite sunset. The clouds just add to it. It's almost like somebody's taken a brush and just kind of painted those clouds in behind the trees. It is wonderful. And the sun is going to set in the next few minutes, so we're not going to see too much more of that sun as it goes down. Big giant golden ball. Jeff, you're wondering about the Djuma heat, whether it's dry or if it's a humid heat. Well, this time of the year, because we haven't had the rains yet, it's still a dry heat, so it's a hot, dry feeling at the moment. But as soon as the rains come, then we go more humid. So once we have a bit of rain around, then we get a very humid heat. The humidity can go up to sort of 70-80%, on after rain, and sometimes even as much as 90% if we have lots of rain. So it does get quite humid out this side, but it's now at the moment is a very dry heat. There's no real sort of moisture around other than in these big dams that are up in front, and so very little chance to be able to actually... Is that the sun reflecting in the water there? That's amazing. There's a whole bunch of birds going over. Let's see. I wonder what's lurking at Chitwa Dam. It doesn't look like much at the moment. There's definitely no big elephants, which I thought there might be. Louis, I prefer sunrise or sunset. Depends. This is a question that we get asked quite regularly, and I always kind of battle with it a little bit, because I really like sunrise for when I'm working, because it's the kind of dawn of a new day, unknown, fresh tracks to work with, lots of interesting things going on. It's a kind of reset button has been pushed, and you're out and you're looking and you're investigating, and so I like that from a work point of view. But sunset, when you're off and you're with family and friends and you can kind of take it easy and just watch the sun go down, is always very pleasant. So it just depends on what I'm doing. In terms of work, I typically normally like sunrise. Now, I found our O for us. It's not an oxpecker, but it is the largest orchid that we get here in South Africa. So we've got a beautiful big leopard orchid that is in this tree. And this tree is quite cool because there's two things here. Sorry, so I'm not in gear. But there's our leopard orchid, and it's one of the larger leopard orchids that we get. And what you will immediately notice is that is a completely dead tree. So this plant is surviving completely on its own. It's not parasitizing the dead tree at all. It's living all by itself. And it's what's known as an epiphyte, which is an air plant. And so basically, it's absorbing moisture through the air, and it's basically self to get nutrients, as well as will catch any other little bits of foliage that falls down. So you see roots actually grow upwards. The roots don't grow down like a normal plant. Those roots are growing up and crisscrossing, and that will trap leaf litter that blows in the wind, as well as its own leaves that then cannibalizes and eats, and that's how that plant survives. Now, the leopard orchid name comes from a beautiful flower that comes out of this plant. It's got yellows and blacks on it, and it really is a magnificent looking. So apparently there's something right here, because Peter is calling me with haste, which means he's got his camera out, so I think we're going to bump into a leopard. Would you imagine that? So Chitwa Dam might be a completely good call. Nobody gave me an update about anything here, so I think Peter might have just bumped this right now. But if it is a leopard, I'm going to be super happy, but I will laugh as well. Because what are the chances that we come this way and there's a leopard here? The way he's photographing, it is a leopard. There's a leopard right there with a kill. Look at that. Yes. It's a leopard with a kill. It looks like Hosana. Scrub hair kill. So go guys, how's that? So leopard magic continues. Nice, sir. Well done. So I was coming to Chitwa Dam in the hope that we would see something, and I was kind of thinking maybe Hosana would be around as well, but how cool is this? And he's just caught that scrub bear. Look, you can see he's kind of just grabbed it. It is definitely Hosana now that I can see his eyes. Well done, boy. Now, we were talking earlier about how these royal cubs have really grown into incredible individuals that have learned how to hunt and to do their business that they need to do. And look at that. There he is with the kill right there for us. How magic is that? Now, I know our alphabet game is going, but we are throwing that right out the window now because we're just going to sit with Hosana for the remainder of the afternoon. This is so, so special. You little champion, well done. So Peter is celebrating over there, and Peter has done a sterling effort for us. So we're giving Peter a longitudinal high five, which is a high five from far away, is how we do it. And there he goes, off he goes. Now I'm going to try and quickly just get round because I'm on a little ridge here, which is quite difficult to get into. And so I want to try and get to where he's going. But well done, Hosana. You are really growing up into a fine young individual. You're right there, Sept. Good stuff. Oh, there we go. Big bump. And I'm so impressed with him. He's come such a long way in such a short time. As we were talking about earlier, he's really kind of learned how to do what he needs to do to find food. And we were talking earlier about tumba and kills that he might have made. These kind of things are exactly what these guys go after regularly, is scrub hares and birds, and nobody's going to be any the wiser if he had caught this and we weren't here, because he'll finish this by tomorrow morning, no problem. He's no ways he's going to still have this by the morning, so he'll be able to finish it and be eating it. And you'll find tomorrow morning we'll be on the move again. But Chitwa seems to have become his home, and I'm quite happy with that. If he's going to end up being the dominant male around Chitwa, well, we won't say no to that either. I think he's going to settle down. Oh, he's going to play with his scrub here. Look, so there's still... Jimmy, you say, yes, this is your favorite leopard. Well, Jimmy, I think you are not alone. There's many a person that loves Hosana and is their favorite, so I would imagine that you will have good company, and he is a beautiful individual. So you see, look how he's watching around, because when he killed the scrub hare it would have made a bit of a noise, so he's just making sure that nobody else is here, no hyenas are around, before he'll start to feed. Are you going to just check down there? Roshni, you say our little chief isn't so little anymore, and bravo. Well, exactly, Roshni. He's growing into a fine young fella. Look at how beautiful he looks, and he's getting stockier by the day and bigger by the day. He is a beautiful, beautiful cat, and he's transcended from a cub to a sub-adult with absolute ease and skill. He's become one of our sort of leopards that we've seen with regular meals and regular carcasses, so he's done fantastically well, and is an animal that has really taken to solitary life very, very, very easily. And it's amazing how well leopards actually can do it. You know, a lot of people would have heard of a leopard cub at 12 months going off on his own, or it was just after 12 months, and they would have thought he would have had a struggle, but you can see by this that he's really done well. I mean, in the week that I've been back, he's had a steenbok, an impala, and now a scrub hare. But he's going to disappear down the gully, so I'm going to try and just go round. Isn't that awesome, Sept?
Oh, so awesome.
Peyton, you say Hosana with the kill is an automatic victory to the alphabet game. Well, I think so. I think we've been very victorious in that we've been able to find a leopard on our afternoon, and literally, if Peter hadn't been here, we still would have found him, because we were coming right to Chitwa Dam. So I think we can give ourselves a pat on the back, or Seb actually, because Seb was the one that said, Chitwa is where we need to go. So Seb actually needs the credit more than what I do. I agreed with him that Chitwa would be a nice place, but he was saying we need to head to that way while we were watching one of the catch-up clips because he wanted a bit of the sunshine, and so we're going to give Seb this one and make it his find, basically. Now I wonder if we're going to keep up with him because he's going into a horrible place, but we'll try and keep up with him. This is actually, funny enough, a place where I had a rather interesting altercation with Kruger the one day. She almost ate me here. I ended up having to shout at her and try and keep her at bay. She was probably no less than a meter from me, growling and hissing, and it was because she was mating with the mvula, and I had walked into her, and she also had to kill up a tree that I couldn't see, and I walked under the tree by mistake, and she was on the other side and of this little drainage section that Hosana went into, and she wanted to eat me. So it was not a very pleasant situation, and one that I hopefully won't have to repeat ever again. Now he's somewhere inside here. Hosana, you've parked in a very bad place. I don't want to block Peter because he can't see. Seb, I'm going to try and go a little bit further back for you and try and look up this drainage a little bit. I also have a very fond memory of this particular drainage line, and just to give you an idea of how much things have changed and how much it's dried up, I'm going to show you a picture shortly of what this looked like in 2012. So in 2012 this was a very different looking area, and I'm going to show you exactly what it looked like in comparison to now, so you guys can see just how much this drought has had an effect in this particular section. I've just got to find the picture now. So there we go. Right, there's our dead scrub here. Now hold on, Sebs, let me just quickly clean my screen because we've got little grubby paw prints all over it, and my hands are a bit grubby from rusty steering. Right, so this is Wabayiza Tandi's son on a kill sitting on the bank exactly on the other side there. So right where we are now is straight across is where I had him on this kill. So look at that lush green vegetation. Now then look what it looks like now. Now it is a straight across. That is exactly where we had him, is on that side. It's eroded a little bit more, but how's that? Very different. So you can just see the extent of what's happened with the drought, which is amazing. So it's a very different appearance to what it used to be. But Hosana has now decided it's time to sleep on his kill. There you go, you can see he's now lying on top of his scrub here. What are you doing? You must eat it, not sleep on it. Vicky, you say he always seems to play with his food before eating it. He is a funny cat. I don't know why. I suppose it's a bit as it seems that we've got a little bit of interference here in Chitwa. We're behind the dam wall, so it might be causing a bit of a problem. So we're sitting as dead still as we can. We've moved a little bit, but Hosana is now starting to play with his kill again, just like a young cat would. You can see he's picking it up and clawing at it and kind of seeing if it's still alive. Look at that. Look at the size of his paws now, and now he's going to lie there. It's a bit gruesome, so if you are a bit squeamish, now's the time to look away. Unfortunately, this is the best view we can get, because if I go back, I'm going to lose signal again, and this bank is not exactly stable, so I don't want to go any closer to the bank than what I currently am, because Rusty falling inside there is going to result in, well, a whole car in there on its side, and myself and Seb out with the leopard on a kill, which we don't really want. So we're going to stay where we are, and I'm sure he's going to play with it quite a bit, so he's going to move around and kind of mess around with it and poke at it and play with it and sort of do what young leopards do, really, and then eventually he'll tuck into it. But he's got himself into a perfect place, because down in here there's going to be no wind drifting onto hyenas and varying other predators, so he can feed off that in peace. Ilana, you're 14 years old and I hope you are having a wonderful day. You want to know how old is Hosana now? Well, Hosana was a year old in March, so he's now 12th of March, I think it was. 12th of March or 12th of February? I always forget that wrong, but he's basically now March, April, May, June, July, August. Months are going on quickly now, so he's now 19 months, I think, is about right. Am I right? 19 months? Is that right, Seb?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, a year and a half old. Let's call it that. So he's a year and a half old now, so he's still a youngster. He's by no way a dominant individual yet. By no way is he even a big male yet. He's still growing. And it seems he's got one or two little bite marks on the back of his head, so I wonder if he's had a bit of a run-in with Tingana or somebody else. You see there's a few little disturbances there, so maybe he's had a little bit of a altercation with somebody. He's absolutely fine otherwise. He's not limping or anything, but there is just a little bit of an indication that he's had some sort of struggle on the back of his head there. And you can see his head is moving quite a bit. It's because of all the flies. Look at the flies on his ears that are busy causing absolute havoc. This is so cool. Leopard with a kill. Hippos in the background calling. Sun setting. Joshua, you say, Hosana, you silly cat. Look at this. This is what we're surrounded by. We've got that beauty above us. We've got the beautiful Hosana below us playing with his kill. Hippos behind us that are calling. Fish eagles that have called. It is the most magical setting to be in. And what a way. Started out with the hopes of finding one of these individuals, and we really have come right. So I think we'll just have to give some credit to Megan, because Megan threw out the positive vibes by playing a catch-up clip of the Little Royals. So we're bound to then find one. We had to find one so as that we could relive it in real time again with the Royals, and one of them at least. Hopefully Shongile will be on the way home. Wouldn't that be spectacular? If only Hosana would just move slightly, it would be really a little bit better for us. I'm just scared to move because, like I say, with the signal issues, I don't really want the gremlins to take over again. So we'll wait for him. Also, with him, it's going to round and move, and it'll be up and down all over the show. And a little bit of an itchy neck. But that scrub hair, once he does start eating, will be a quick feast. It's not going to last long. He'll crunch through that in an hour or two. He's not going to be here for all night, but I wouldn't be surprised if tomorrow morning to try and sort of come down here and check, because he might still be here in the morning. Okay, I'm going to try and move. Megan says we're going to try it, and let's see, maybe just don't know where I'm going to go to, because I also don't want to give him a fright, because we are right on top of him. I just don't want to give him any sort of reason to get a little bit of a sort of... Sabi, you just tell me if you can see him from when we go here. No, nothing, eh? Will I be in the way if I move? Hold on. Grass in the way, plenty. Still. Let's see, it's difficult. I think Seb's battling because the grass is all in the way. You can see there he's behind quite a thick bank of grass. Let me see.
When we go on the other side, there.
Let's just see, because he is going to move now. So you can see he's still playing with it and moving. Come on. If he moves it a little bit out of where it is now and away from this close bank, then it's going to work to go back where we were. Let's see if he lies there. If you lie there, then we're going to... No, now you're going to put the stick with... There we go, playing with the scrubby again. I think let's go back again. It's going to be better. So I'm going to go back again because Seb's really battling the way we are here. There's also in view in the way. I'm just going to say thanks to Peter quickly. Thank you, Peter.
Hello.
How are you doing?
Fine, and you?
Good. Thank you very much.
Am I still...
Cheers, guys. So just saying to Peter quickly. Hello, Hosana. How are you? Are you well? Yes, you are. No fly. There we go. And you can. Well, this is our version of thermal that Sept and I have tried to recreate from the only place that we can get signal. It's so far away, and with the spotlight, it almost looks like a thermal image of Hosana playing with his scrub hair. There's no other way that we can get to anywhere close to where he is to see him clearly. We've tried every available option, but there's just no signal from anywhere but where he is. But it looks like he's walking towards us. Is he walking? No, he's sat down again. Oh, it's very difficult. Unfortunately, just the angle of the banks doesn't really work. This is the kind of clearest view that we can get. Now, I was trying to think of a way to maybe try and get to where he is, and to try and see if I can kind of get down into the drainage itself. But the problem with that is that we won't have signal inside there. So, alas, we sit and we hope that he moves slightly, that we'll get a better view of him. The infrared will just help us at least to see him outside of the light. Like I say, for him though, it's a clever place. You know, it's not ideal for us, but it's very clever for him. Della, you're asking if it's hard work for him catching the scrub hare. Well, any hunting is hard work, you know. They stalk and they expend energy going low to the ground, creeping, and a scrub hare is a fleet-footed animal, so it meant he would have had to have really caught it by surprise and chased it a few steps, and there would have been some energy exerted. But it's not like wrestling with a big fully grown male impala where you'd have to hold on and suffocate it. Once he's grabbed the scrub hare, then it's quite quick and easy for him to kill it. So not as hard work as the big antelope species, but still a bit of work nonetheless, and he's definitely done well to be able to catch what he's caught and to get the food that he needs. As you can see, he's just playing now. You're a silly cat. Sharon, you asking how long before leopards leave their mothers? Well, generally between... Oh, where are you off to? You can see he's having a full game. Between 14 months and 2 years. That's generally what we see with leopards. That's how they normally will kind of spend their years or months with a mother, and then the mothers start to move off. But it depends on the leopard. Sometimes a little bit earlier, sometimes a bit later. The most extreme I've seen is 3.5 years. That's the longest I've ever seen a male leopard stay with his mom. And also I've seen a leopard at 10 months old being left by its mother. So it just depends on the individual and the mother itself, and the availability of food and all kinds of other things that go into it. It really is a pity that he's just lying behind that clump of grass. If he was 1 meter the other side of that clump of grass, we would have the most perfect view of him from where we are now, because it's a nice sort of gap that we've got here, and if he had gone and lay in this more open section, it would have been far more pleasant. But with him playing so much, maybe he's going to pick it up and run this way, and we'll see him coming into this area. Christy, you want to know the largest animal that I've seen Hosana hunt? Well, I mean, we saw him the other day with an impala that looked like one of the yearlings, but I know that he has killed a fully grown male impala and put it up into a tree. So he has killed that, which is a large individual. I mean, that's a large animal for even a female leopard, so he's done fairly well with that. But that's it. I haven't heard of him going after kudu yet or anything like that, or warthog, big male warthogs, which he will in time. And once he becomes a big male leopard, he's definitely going to start going after things like that. It's just going to take a bit of time for him to get to be strong enough and big enough to really tackle those guys and make it easy enough for him to grab them and pull them down. You know, when he's still so small like he is now, he doesn't have the strength yet to fight with those big antelope. Remember, he only probably weighs, I would say, at most at the moment about 120 pounds or 60 kilograms, whereas kudu and big male warthogs, those are well over 100. So they're going to be strong, powerful animals, and are going to make it very difficult for him. You see, when he comes out a little bit, it's really quite nice. It's beautiful watching him, and we can see him playing. Look at that. What are you doing, silly cat? Are you having fun? You're expending more energy playing than you would have done to hunt it. Cat's Tails, you saying Hosana is making your days having so much fun. I know it is. It's amazing when you see a cat like this, when they just seem to have lots of joy in them, and there's lots of energy, and they're jumping around, and they're chasing, and they're trying to bite things, and it's just a wonderful experience. It's a good way to kind of finish your day in a good place. And there's something about wild animals when they are playful that just fills you with, you know, a sense of happiness and a sense of that there is more to this world than the doom and gloom that we see on the news every day, and that moments like this are special, and that we're very privileged to be able to spend time with a cat like this and watch its playful nature, especially one that we know so well and have followed for so long. What are you doing? Paula, you're wondering if they're playing with it just to make it more tender and easier to eat. Well, Paula, no, not really. So it's more just he's a young leopard. If you found somebody like Tingana or Mvula, they wouldn't do this. They would just grab it and they would just start chomping away. It's more a youthful phase that he's going through. It's not in any way tenderizing that meat. You'd have to play with it a lot harder than what he is now. It's just that he's a young leopard. He's, you know, theoretically could still have been with his mom, in which case he would have been playing with her, and he would have been playing with his sister, and it would have been a whole lot different in his life. So he's still got that curious cub nature, and so it's more that than anything else. Once he gets older and more territorial, you'll find that this will stop, and he won't become as playful with his food, and definitely will not sort of chuck it around as much as what he's doing now. Also shows you that he's not particularly hungry, because if he was ravenous, he would have tucked into that very quickly. So he's come off 2 big kills, and that means that he's actually can take it quite easy and not have to stress about shoving it in too fast. Sounds like some of the hippos are pushing one another around behind the dam wall as well. Come boy, come this way. No, you're going further down. You know what, Seb? I wonder if we go further down, we might get a better view of him now. Oh, yes. He looks like he looks like a rodeo bull. Now he's,
nice to be close to him.
Now he's looking up at us as if to say, what do you guys, why are you laughing at me? But he was jumping around like when you see those bulls get let out of a rodeo, in a rodeo sort of circuit, and they go crazy and back legs are jumping all over the place. That's what it looked like when he was doing that. So you can see how far he is. He's a long way away. I'm going to try and see if we can get a bit closer, because it's just so magical watching him play like this. Hopefully we won't lose reception, but we're going to risk it anyway, because it really is so nice to see him playing. But from where we are, we're missing a lot of what's going on from being too far away, so we're going to risk it. I hope none of you will mind, and hopefully it will be worthwhile for us. We're going to try and just see, Seb, if we go here. I wonder. I mean, I could get down there, but like I say, we probably would lose reception if I went down there. So I'm going to try and just get in to a point where we can maybe try. Hopefully, like I say, that we will keep reception. So we still have me apparently, and we still have a branch and a tires, hopefully, after going through that. Here we go. There's going to be your best bet, I think, Seb. How's that? So I'll get out of your way, but this is going to be much better for us to... No, don't go around the corner now. Excellent, we still have reception, which is fantastic news. But this is much better. Now we can at least see him and not a blob of light in the distance. But he's so playful. What are you doing? we're being spoiled tonight. These kind of sightings are not every day, and we don't get to see this activity of leopards all that often. So it really is a special thing to see. And Marion, you say it reminds you of your pet cat. Well, exactly. It's just like a domestic cat playing with a mouse or something like that. In fact, Graham Wallington, who's sent us a video the other day in the staff group of his pet cat playing with the mouse, and it's a very similar situation. It seems as though he's really gotten... There we go. Oh, oh no, it's attacking him. What are you doing, you silly cat? And this is just all good, and even though he's playing with it, it's actually really good because he's learning little techniques. So he's using his paws, he's biting at it, and this will all stand him in good stead when he's actually going to be hunting. When he grabs a prey item, this will all help in that regard. So even though it looks like a game to him, he's still honing skills and building muscle in those legs and around that throat and around that neck area that's going to really help him later in life be able to hunt better. And so these things are very important. It's the same as when he was playing with Shongile and the rest. This would have really helped him kind of develop the skills to hunt. And maybe all those games with Shongile up the trees and down the trees and falling in and out and chasing things has what made him into the hunter that he is today. Also, he would have watched Kruger and he would have got some serious amount of lessons from her. She's definitely would have taught him some things. No, don't go behind the corner there. Come back this side. It was so nice when he was on this side because we could see him really playing with what he was with the scrub hair. No, don't go that way. No. Seems as though he's going to lie down where we can't see him. Hosana, that's not very nice of you. It seems as though the best spot for us to see is exactly where we have no signal, which is just Murphy's Law as well. And gremlins always hide in the best spots. So I'll try and evict the gremlins, and hopefully he will come back round. With the scrub hair lying closer to where we are, he hopefully will move round that corner again back towards us. I don't think there's any other way we're going to be able to see him than from where we are now. Cat's tails, you say, Hosana's. Pure joy is infectious. It is infectious. Well, I'm going to try and move one more time because we can't just sit and stare at a blank bank of sand. So hopefully this will not lose signal and we'll be able to still see what's going on. I'm going to try and sneak in. The nice thing about having smaller Land Rovers is that we can just get into small little gaps like this. So careful there, Seb. He's right below me, so we should be able to see him. Can you see him from there, Seb? Let's see. We're going to be alright, Seb? Oh, look at that. Wonderful. That's better. So we can actually see, and we can see the scrub here. And we've got strong signal according to Megan. Well, that's fantastic news. So it is a bit of an aerial view. This is not a view you'll get every day of a leopard, watching from above and seeing his head and his neck and his back so clearly. But it is a nice view nonetheless. At least we can see him and we can see where he is and how he's going to play around with his scrub hair. It should be a lot better than where we were all those sort of that distance away. The problem is I can't go much closer than this, otherwise the vehicle's going to be in the way, so we're in the perfect place. You can see he's itching a little bit in those wounds. I would imagine flies are landing on them every now and then. You can see he's got lots of issues with flies. We were talking about it earlier, that there are a lot around. With this increase in heat, all of a sudden we've had a lot more flies. I would imagine also with the increase in heat has meant that there's an increase in the predators catching food, because animals are going to become far more weaker when it comes into this heat, and they're going to have to try and, you know, go down towards waterholes like Chitwa, where Hosana and varying other leopards are going to be lying in wait. We know at Treehouse Dam is where he had his last kill. Tundi killed at Treehouse Dam, and so there's going to be a lot more weak animals, which means that there's a lot more carcasses where flies can lay eggs and therefore reproduce. We also know that last year we had an absolute boom in the fly numbers because of the dead buffalo and hippos that were all over the place due to the drought. So lots of flies. Hosana crazy, but many others as we try and see. You relaxed at all. He's very restless. But it's still a really cool view. It's such a different perspective of a leopard. You know, it's not very often leopards actually, they're relaxed enough to allow vehicles to park pretty much on top of them. And when I say on top of them, I mean above them. They tend to be a little bit more kind of wary of a vehicle above them than they are of a vehicle. Look, he's stalking and he's going to pounce. Oh, it's stuck to his... Such an incredible sighting. So, I wonder if there's a spotlight, and that's because, unlike us that have IR vision, affect the animals, the guys out here that have guess, they can't see when it gets dark, so they use a spotlight, and they'll use spotlights on animals that are active at night. And Hosana's eyes and his pupils are sensitive, and he'll be able to react to the spotlight very quickly, and it doesn't have too much effect. He was telling me that the lights actually don't affect cats' eyes as much as you would think it would. So the spotlight, as much as I know it's a little bit irritating of it dancing around all over the place, it is necessary for the other guys to be able to see what's going on. So just bear with it. I'm afraid it's just part of the safari experience out here. We're so fortunate at Djuma that generally we spend a lot of time with our leopards on our own, and that's when we can go into infrared and we can, be far more ethical towards any of the animals by using that infrared light. And must remember that it wasn't long ago that we didn't have infrared ourselves, and we used to have to use spotlights and various floodlights on the car to be able to try and see animals in the dark when they're at their most active. You must remember that these cats, now that it's dark, is when he's going to be active. You would have spent the whole day resting. Oh, look at this. We are being spoiled. This is so cool. What are you doing? How amazing is this? Rose, bit macabre, but quite funny. You say that it was doing more things dead than it was when it was alive. Yes, I think it's definitely moving, doing a lot more flick-flacks than what it would have done when it was alive. Which is, it's a sad thing when you see an animal that's no longer alive, but at the end of the day, they need to be eaten, and the predators need to survive somehow. So that's how it all works. Now this car is leaving, which means the spotlight will go off for a bit, so we'll switch to infrared, which means that it will go a little bit darker, and it will go black and white so that we can actually see him. And so you can see, look what he's doing now. He's now going to start feeding. I think he's licking and grooming, getting rid of all that fur, because that fur is very difficult for him to be able to digest. And now he's using his teeth to just pluck it. You see, so he's plucking bits of fur off, getting rid of that before he can expose the skin, when he'll start then to feed off it. So this is the start of him feeding. First he played a little bit, now he's plucking, and then once he's plucked and opened that skin, then you'll find he's going to start really eating. And as I said, I'd be very surprised if he's still in the exact same spot tomorrow morning. This will be finished fairly quickly. Mouth and his paws, in comparison to that food item, it's not going to last very long, and he'll feed off that. But then there's water right here, so I don't think he's going to go too far. I'd imagine he'll be somewhere close. Look at all the fur that he's gotten just from plucking. It's amazing how they can use those teeth. You would think that they would struggle with the teeth to be able to actually pull it out, but you can see just how much fur he pulled out, and now he's got some stuck in his teeth. It can't be very pleasant when you get fur stuck in your teeth, and his tongue is so full of hooks that it's going to make it very difficult to actually get that fur out. It's often funny to watch cats when they feed like this. How amazing is this, guys? What a way for us to have spent our last sort of 45 minutes of drive. I think it's about half an hour, 45 minutes. We really have been spoilt by Hosana. He's not just been a flat, tired, hot cat. He's had his scrub hair, and the scrub hair was dangling in his mouth, and now to watch him playing all over the place really is super special. And you can see, look, he's listening to the hippos and all the other cars that are coming, because there's going to be 2 other cars arriving, because it's now the time of the day where the guys are starting to go back to their lodges, and we're right at Chitwa Lodge. So the Chitwa guides are coming in this direction, which means we also are going to have to make space fairly shortly, because there is 3 vehicles that want to come in here, so we don't want to hog it too much, but we'll stay a little bit longer since it's almost the end of our drive, and then the others can come in. But they're really going to struggle. So, Sebastian, you're wondering if leopards sleep on the ground or in the trees. The answer to that, obviously leopards everyone kind of has this notion that they are only tree-dwelling creatures. That's not actually true. So leopards do spend a lot of their time in not only trees but on the ground. In fact, more time on the ground than in trees. They go up into trees when they have carcasses, or if it's really hot and there's a lot of insects that are irritating them on the ground, then they'll go up into a tree to try and rest there. Or if it's very wet on the ground, then you'll find that they go up into the trees. But you can see once the light goes off, it's very difficult. Even the infrared light is being blocked by the light of the infrared, by the grass I should say. So I'll try and just see if I can help you there, Seb, although he's tucked his head behind a lot of grass. So this light will just be able to help us see through the grass, because otherwise our infrared light is all being absorbed by the grass and we can't see beyond it. So I'm just going to try and shine a little bit and see, just for the last few minutes while we watch him. I was surprised. I thought he was going to start feeding properly, but he seems to have now decided that's enough. He's not going to eat just yet. He'll go back to that just now. Obviously didn't like the taste of fur. Tony, you say he's going to get a hairball? Yes, well, a very big hairball by the time he's actually eaten through that entire scrub hair, because the scrub hair is going to be difficult to groom all that hair off. You'll find he will eat some of it, and even when he defecates, there's going to be a lot of hair in that dung. And you find after this, often they'll go and eat grass, and the grass will just help them sometimes get a little bit sick, and that gets out all that stuff that they're battling to digest. So maybe a few bits of bone and hair that is kind of in that area. Come on, boy, wait. Go back to your kill where we can see you a little bit better. There we go. He's listening to us. I think he's going to stalk it again. Paul, you say even in black and white they look amazing. Well, Paul, there's something about the black and white that just brings out the contrast of their coat. So those rosette looks that much better. Oh, look at him go. I'm going to turn off my light because there's somebody else that's got a light there, and we can see now that he's in the open. But you can see the contrast of the coat, and there's just something about it. The other thing that there is a million mosquitoes here. Can you hear them, Seb? Buzzing around our ears. So there's mosquitoes everywhere, which is the first sign of mosquitoes of the summer, and means that we're probably in all likelihood going to get overrun at some point. If there's already mosquitoes in this dry weather, as soon as it gets to the wet weather, we're going to have a bit of a problem, I think. So I'll have to start packing some of our mosquito repellent over the next little bit. Now he's tucking in to start feeding. He's see, I think he's also struggling with all the insects as well. I suppose, with the lights and varying other things, the insects will be attracted to this area. We're also right next to a dam, so the insects are going to be far more. It's maybe why he stops feeding, is it just the insects get a little bit too much and irritate him, and then he kind of walks away for a bit and hopes that the insects move off, and then he goes back again. The nice thing for him is that the flies will disappear as the night goes on, so he's not going to have to worry about flies too much. It's just going to be more the little midges and mayflies and varying other little insects that come out of the water, and obviously mosquitoes as well. But unfortunately, I think he's going to settle right there where we can't really see much of his face anymore. Also, there's quite a number of vehicles that want to come into this area, so I think what we're going to do so I believe all of you are saying he must just eat it already. Well, it would be nice, wouldn't it, if he did decide to just start eating it, because he's kind of played and he's messed around for quite a while today, and it would be nice if he just sort of started crunching down and that was the end of that. But it seems as though he is starting to do that. It looks as though he's gotten far more comfortable now. He's found himself a tight little spot, and he's slowly but surely looks like he's starting to eat. It's difficult from where Seb is because of that long grass that's in the way of his face, but from where I am I can see he's slowly but surely starting to put his mouth down and crunch down a little bit more than he's actually licking. So I think he is going to start feeding soon. Maybe not. if the insects are anything to do with it. Come on, Hosana, you must eat your meal. And like I say, he's probably expended more energy playing with it than he's actually going to get out of the scrub here. I don't think he's going to get that much nutrition out of it, and yet he's spent so much playing around. Now, Sharon, you say you're thanking the scrub here for allowing Hosana a nutritional meal and to survive. Well, this is the way it works out here. You know, some days the prey wins, sometimes the predators do. And if you think this week we followed Hosana, we followed Tingana, we followed Shadow, all three of them hunted, all three of them got within 5 meters, but not one of them was successful. So the prey items do get away a lot, and it is vitally important that the predators obviously feed to stay healthy. So as much as it's sad to see carcasses and to see dead animals, like I say, it's vitally important for these predators to get their nutrition. Otherwise we wouldn't see them, and we wouldn't have these amazing characters that we do in the form of Hosana and Shongile and Tamba and all these leopards that we get to see on a daily basis. It would be a lot sort of bleaker world if we didn't get to see them, that's for sure. I know many of you love spending time with them. Right, it's that time of the day though. It's time for me to start saying goodbye, because we're reaching that stage, and I believe a lot of you have enjoyed the solo drive. I've immensely enjoyed myself as well, and it's thanks to all of you for asking lots of questions and being a part of it. And I hope that you really enjoyed this afternoon as we went around the alphabets. We didn't really get too far, and if the internet's not working in the tomorrow, well, we'll just continue in the morning with the rest in the second half of the alphabet. But it's been such a fantastic afternoon. I've really enjoyed it. We've bumbled about, we've seen lots of interesting little things, discussed trees and various other stuff, and then we finished it off with, well, the best way that you could, and that's a leopard. So let's take one last look of our leopard while I enjoy all the insects that are around my lights and in my face. But from myself and Sebastian and Megan, thank you very much for joining us, and we'll see you tomorrow on the Sunrise Safari.